Hey there, everybody, welcome back. It's Enigmatic Entertainment back again with another video. You know what it is. It's time. It's another part of the, me just trying to really give advice and use my personal experience to really help you guys out for you out there who really just don't know, maybe enough or not feel confident enough in certain things. This time, it's job interview advice, suggestions, my personal experience, what I would do in certain situations. And this is mostly, of course, aimed at people who are very new to the workforce, socially anxious, socially awkward, having problems with one-on-one conversations, job interviews, getting asked all the questions, feeling like you're getting interrogated, things of that nature, so on and so forth, etc., etc. You know the drill. Let's get right into it. First of all, I'm not going to be going over the job search itself. So this is taking place from after you've applied and you're actually now in the process of, you set the time, you have to see the person in person, over the phone, or a video call. And we're taking it up right from there. All right, so let's say, for example, it's at a retail store, your local retail store, whether you guys have a Burlington, Sears, if they still even exist. I think they're all out of business at this point. I don't even know. Kohl's is a good one. Let's go with that. All right, so that's a retail store. Typically, you'll be doing, retail customer service, working with customers and whatnot. And there's just certain things that you want to keep in mind, certain way to answer questions that'll help you in that kind of environment. I'm going to be going over that a little bit later on. But first, I'm going to be starting with this. What to bring for your interview. Bring yourself. You can't do it without you, right? But no, seriously, bring a copy of your resume if you have one. If you do not have a resume, maybe because you're in high school still, or in college, or you don't really have anything to put, no work experience, that's okay. This is not about how to fill out your resume and things of that nature. That is also a whole different topic. So make a resume if you don't have one yet. If you do have one, bring a copy with you. Maybe bring two in case they don't have a copy of it yet. You can have one for them as well as for yourself. It just shows that you went that extra mile to, print it out, hand it to them. It's just a little extra oomph, that can really help you if you're lacking in certain other areas, Also, maybe you want to bring another copy in case that there's two people interviewing you. Sometimes that happens where two or more people interview you at once, take turns asking questions, so they all have a copy of the resume. You don't have to share or anything like that. It just makes the process more quicker, more efficient. And it really just shows that you're on top of your game and that you're thinking ahead. And that's very important. You want to show that. So that's something that I recommend. You could just bring a copy or two or three in a folder rather, with you. This shows that you're prepared. You're about your business. You're organized. You're neat. You're professional. You know what I'm saying? That's one. Of course, also, before the interview, prepare yourself. Ask yourself some questions. If you're nervous, you're anxious, shake it off. Do whatever you got to do. Speak to somebody that you're comfortable with. Go for a walk. Get some exercise in. Make sure that you have properly slept and eaten. Make sure that you've had water. Especially, I know me. I get thirsty, especially having long conversations. And especially when I'm nervous, I really need some water. You know the drill. Always have that water on you. H2O. Fills you up nice and well. Lets you keep on speaking. And that's just that. So make sure you're prepared. Of course, also make sure that you pick a time for the interview that you're able to make it to. You want to get there on time. If you're late, that's a big hit to your chances of getting the job. If at all, be a few minutes early. That is what I would say would be the best thing to do, because it shows that if I hire this person, they might be here early on a regular basis, or at least on time, which of course is fine. You don't need to be early, but things happen. Traffic, car trouble. If you use public transportation, that could also be an issue. Things being delayed or late. Or maybe you want to get there early and get some more work done, or just have a few minutes to relax, or have a conversation, or speak to coworkers, or whatever you need to do. So I typically try to, for my interviews, try to get there a little bit early, especially if it's a place I don't know how I'm getting there exactly, because, traffic, or, trying to find parking and all that other stuff. You know the drill. I can go on and on about that, but you understand, I'm sure. Of course, also, besides bringing yourself on time, bringing your resume and whatnot, the next thing really is you can make sure you know what you're getting into. Of course, this goes back to the applying process, but if you're applying for a business, know a little bit about it before you go into it so you can kind of know what kind of questions they're going to ask you. If it's a retail store, they sell clothes, just keep that in mind. They sell video games, keep that in mind. Just know in case there's any questions, you'll be able to quicker, pick up on them and answer them more responsibly and not be just, completely dumbfounded or surprised or anything like that. The more informed you are, the better you can typically do on your job interview. That's just a basic, thing, a tip that you really should know. You don't need to go into hours and hours of research, of course, but at least know the basics about the situation and the corporation that you're dealing with on, what you'd be needing to do and kind of like what is expected of you, at least to a certain extent. Also, one of the most important things is how you dress. You want to make sure that you are dressed to impress. You don't have to go the whole 9 yards to get a 3-piece suit, tuxedo, tie, all that stuff. Maybe unless it's depending on the position, it's higher up, certain corporations and whatnot, then yes, of course, go all out as best you can, spend a whole lot of time on that. But like I said, for some of the more entry level or more basic positions and whatnot that you'll be going for, because like I said, this is more suited or aimed towards people that are doing entry level, nothing too extravagant or out of the ordinary. You can just be yourself, be relaxed, not too relaxed. You don't want to go with, of course, this should be obvious, but I'm going to state it anyway. Don't go with anything dirty, anything smelling, especially if it's like, some people just use way too much perfume or cologne, body sprays, things of that nature. Don't do that either. People have allergies, and it could really bother them. And you don't want to do that. That comes across a little bit too strong. And you don't want to do that either. Keep it very low with the spraying of everything. You don't want to go all over here. No, that's way too much. Keep it simple. You also don't want to be flashy in the regard of jewelry either. My chain is tucked. You can see it. It's tucked in. I'm giving you an example. You're not going to see it. It's not hanging out like it usually would be when I'm just chilling and relaxed and whatnot. My bracelet broke a while ago, so I don't have it. But if I had it on, that would be tucked, or I would take it off, slip it in my pocket before the interview. And the same thing for any other jewelry or things of that nature. Of course, maybe a watch. A watch is typically fine. Once again, nothing too flashy or anything like that. And the same thing goes for women. Not too much flashy or showy jewelry, accessories, or anything like that. The basic stuff is fine. Nothing like showing too much. This goes for, men and women, but nothing showing too much. You don't want to go there with a half shirt, the cleavage, things of that nature. You want to make sure that you're presentable, respectable. You can be fashionable, of course, but you don't want to be too showy or flashy or anything like that. And then, of course, also you want to make sure that, it's simple colors, basic colors. White, blue, black, beige. Some beige khakis typically is good. A white shirt, like this. I would wear this. Depending on the position and company and whatnot, I might toss on a tie as well. And also might throw on, depending on the weather too, a jacket to go along with that. A nice black jacket. Have the whole suit on. Get some nice, fitted clothes. Nothing too big, nothing too small. You want to make sure that it fits to the best of your ability. Sometimes I know it is hard getting the right size. We all have different body shapes. There's nothing wrong with that. Shirts don't fit too well on me too because of certain situations, but that just is what it is. But yeah, you want to make sure that everything is fitting. And then, of course, the shoes. The shoes, if possible, put on some nice dress shoes. And for women, I'm not sure. Maybe you can put on some dress shoes as well, or maybe some heels, not too high or thick or anything like that, but something pretty simple, If you don't have that, put on, no slippers, sandals, anything like that. You can put on some sneakers, tennis shoes if you have to. Just make sure that they're very simple colors, nothing too flashy, extravagant, or anything like that. You don't be wearing the brand new Yeezys or whatever the kids be wearing. Some nice black shoes, sneakers is fine. Some white ones is fine. Anything like that is fine. But you don't want to put on anything, like I said, too crazy or wild. That's about it when it comes to dressing. Really, there's not too much more to go along with it. It really depends on the position, the company, how far or low up the chain that you're trying to go. You don't want to go too, like wear a 3-piece suit when you're trying to get a job at Pizza Hut, but you don't want to walk in with some like blue jeans and like a freaking baseball cap and you're trying to get a job at Microsoft, being like the vice president. It just has to all fit, basically. So, once again, that's as far as dressing. Next up is the other most important thing, and that is answering the questions. You want to answer the questions. I'm going to just go over a few of them real quick and then leave it at that because there's a lot and we could do this all day. But for one example is, okay, so Mr. Enigmatic Entertainment, tell me one of your strengths. All right, now this one is sometimes people have a problem answering because we can't think of a strength or we can't think of what they want to hear or whatnot. The problem is really just make it relevant. That's really the best thing you have to do. Make it relevant to that position that you are applying for. You're applying for a position where you're working with customers, you're answering phones, having to answer their problems, dealing with people that can be unpleasant, rude, so on and so forth. You want to highlight your ability to answer problems and answer questions very quickly, politely, courteously, and be very cordial, and also be able to be passionate when need be, and be pleasant. You don't want to highlight and emphasize your hobbies like, oh, I love video games. Unless you're working at a video game company, then that makes sense. Outside of that, no. You don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm a really good fighter. And that's not useful unless your job is trying to get into the UFC or something like that, or be a boxer. Make it relevant to the position that you are applying for. Keep it that simple, and you're pretty much good to go with that question. Now, the other question that is the opposite of that, and also a little bit harder at times, is, okay, Mr. Enigmatic, what is a weakness of yours? Now, for weakness, you will want to go with something that, you don't want to just, once again, make it relevant. You don't want to go in and say, well, for real, man, my weakness is, I don't really read too good. That's not a good look. You don't want to go in and say, I have an anger problem and I punch windows and break doors. That's also probably not going to get you the job either. You want to do something that, I don't know what the best word to really call it is, but make it something that is not too bad or negative, and something that you can improve and work on and build towards your self-growth. For me, for example, I typically would say something along the lines of, all right, one of my weaknesses is that I'm too kind, I'm too nice, and too understanding sometimes to people, to where the point is I spend more time helping them than helping my own self, and it can be a detriment. And this is true. It's not really something I have to make up. This is something I genuinely am and genuinely feel. So it's genuine, and it's honest, and it's personable as well, and relevant to the position, which is, like I said, if we're talking about more entry-level or basic positions, like retail, customer service, hospitality, business, and things of that nature. And boom, there you go. That's one that works. There's another question or line of questioning that goes, well, tell us about a time where you had to deal with like an unruly customer or something like that, and, they just want to make sure that you're able to deal with customers well. You don't want to say, oh, we squared up and we went at it and we went box and we threw the 5 and all that. No. You can just be like, even if it hasn't happened to you, you just have to make up something. Because you could tell them, oh, I've never been in that situation. Typically, they will either do one or two things. Skip it, and that's typically not a good thing. Or they're asking you, okay, well, what would you do if that situation were to occur? Then it's what I go into the hypothetical questioning. And that is where you still have to answer it and just use your imagination and be a little bit creative. I've had to do that many times because many experiences I have not been through myself due to my work history or a lack thereof it at the moment. And I'm sure, once again, this is for job seekers who are very new to the job industry and searching for, doing job interviews and things of that nature, very new. So just try to use the best of your imagination, your creativity, and get not too wild or crazy with it. Keep it short, concise, very brief, but very poignant and relevant too. You don't want to answer that question, take 5 minutes. They might think you're just lying and coming, pulling stuff up out of nowhere. And you don't want to just come across as curt either, or like you really just don't know what you're talking about. So keep that in mind for the, what I call, like I said, the hypothetical questions. Tell me about a time where you went above and beyond the Call of Duty and so on and so forth. Yeah, I went above and beyond when I was working at, you can use volunteer experience as well, by the way. That's no problem. They typically also don't mind it, especially if you're younger, if you use school experience also. If you don't have that, you can also use personal experiences too in your personal life, as long as it's still, you're able to spin it in a way that is relevant to the position that you're applying for. And like I said, that's just a few of the many questions that you will get asked at times. Here's one more. This is more fine-tuned to a certain industry. If you're getting into the delivery business, they want to know, or any kind of driving, they want to know about your record. That's pretty simple, very basic. Yes or no, you have problems with your driver's record. They just want to have your ID, and they can probably check that information out themselves. But you just tell them, no, I drive very well, very cautiously, very safe. I obey the laws. Very simple stuff. Once again, just, use your brain, use that common sense, and you pretty much got it. I mean, you might not be the best at speaking, but a lot of these questions, if you just give it some thought and don't get too nervous, which I know is not the easiest thing to do, granted, but don't get too nervous and say the wrong thing, and also don't try too hard to where you're just making up a whole bunch of lies and everything like that either, because that typically will not benefit you as well or your employer. It's very important that not only is it you have to be a good fit for them, but they have to be a good fit for you. You could tell them things like, I am a little anxious when it comes to one-on-one interviews. I'm a little nervous. And if they're a decent person, they will be understanding and roll with you and go along with the flow of that conversation. If they're not, then you have to consider, do you really want to work there anyway if they're not even being a little bit understanding in the whole interview process? Now keep that in mind and understand that you are a person and you deserve to have a decent working environment and space, and as well as wages, and it has to fit you. Hold your head up high. If you don't get the job, just keep on pushing and moving to the next one. Of course. Just keep on going. I've been through some where it left me feeling very down, depressed, really down bad, but I picked myself up, went right on to the next one, improved over time, improved, got better, still getting better. You have to keep working on it. You can even do mock interviews if you need to. Get a friend, family member, significant other, somebody that you trust, a former coworker or whatever, to really just give you interview advice, or write some questions and they can ask you, and then they can gauge it and judge it for themselves as well. Anything that you can do to help, get creative with it, and you might find yourself really improving without having to go through a whole bunch of interviews and really get those knocks and whatnot. But hey, for the most part, that's how it goes. One more thing, sometimes they're even how you role play. Again, like depending on the industry, like I said, if it comes to driving, they're asking you about your record and how you drive. When I've looked for sales positions, they've asked me to do role play. How would you sell this to us? How would you sell that to us? Well, how would you sell a warranty? Sell this product to me. Here's 2 minutes. Here's the product. Think about it. Okay, boom. Stuff like that too is also hard questions, and you want to make sure that you this is where your creative side, you really want that to shine. You really want to be able to, be quick, be able to talk real smooth, and you have to be able to do that. If that's not for you, don't apply for that kind of position. If your driving record is horrible, you can't drive, you're scared to drive, don't try to be a delivery driver. Find a job that fits for you. If you can't do manual labor, like myself, don't look for a manual labor job that has a lot of physical requirements. I know all this stuff can be very hard, it can be complex, it can be difficult, but hang in there, keep on pushing, know yourself, know your worth, know who you are, keep it pushing, and keep growing. Thank you guys for watching. I am out. This is Enigmatic Entertainment, Enigmatic Advice, job interviews, suggestions, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. I hope I helped you. Remember, watch how you dress, bring your resume with you, and just get a little bit better at the speaking. I know it's not easy. I'm not the best at it either myself. And you're going to improve. You're going to get better if you just try. Put your best foot forward. First impressions are important. Be on time. Be punctual. And hey, guys, I'm out. I hope you guys have good luck. Stay healthy. Stay positive. And oh, did I almost forget? I almost forgot. Bear with me for a moment. Phone interviews. I know it probably goes without saying, but disregard all the stuff about how to dress, because phone interviews, they're not going to see you. You don't need to bring anything. Just focus purely on answering the questions to the best of your ability and trying to gauge and feel out how they are speaking, and try to adapt and handle that with your own tone of voice, and make sure you ask them questions as well, because it's all based on just the questions pretty much on your resume. Have a copy with you and be able to read off of that. And since you're at home, you'll be a little bit more comfortable, but for phone and video interviews, don't get too comfortable. Remember that it's still a job interview. Don't have noise in the background. Don't have a whole bunch of not safe for work things going on in the background. If you're in a video call, make sure that they see you from up, chest up to the top. Make sure that everything is still done up. Make sure you still have appropriate clothing up to here. And do not be in a background with a lot of stuff going on, a whole bunch of noise, like I said before. You still want it to be appropriate. You don't want a whole bunch of wild stuff in the background, you know. If you can't find a place, you got to find one. If you can't, go sit in your car. Don't be driving, of course, but sit in the car somewhere nice and quiet where there is lighting and where you will not be disturbed. Set your phone to do not disturb. Do not get any interruptions or anything of the sort. I know video interviews and phone interviews are a little bit more common now because of the pandemic, and hopefully things will get better and we can go back to the more conventional, traditional, usual ways that we are used to conducting job interviews. And that's all for now, really, guys. I thank you for watching. As always, I'm out for real this time. Join me next time. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click the thumbs up button if you like the video. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions or comments or anything that I haven't touched on in this video. Or if you have any suggestions for the next video, feel free to leave it there, and I will be getting back to you when I can. And of course, follow the channel on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow the tit, TIT. You know what it is. Enigmatic Entertainment. Guys, I'm out. Be safe, healthy, positive, and stay up. We can do this. Keep growing. I believe in you like you believe in me.